Yo, we are back. We are back on Afro Culture Sports. As usual, my name is Razak Godfred.
Freddy Dynamo. Razak, Charlie, sorry to catch you. Make a deal with Alvaro Arbeloa first before we go into the weekend round of games. See, Florentino Perez, one of the most successful, presidents of a football club. We have to tell Florentino Perez, it's getting worse. Real Madrid, 11 points, trailing Football Club de Barcelona by 11 points in the La Liga. It doesn't get worse than this. How can Vinicius Jr. score a beautiful goal like this and Hector Bellerin would equalize in the dying minutes? Alvaro Arbeloa humbly resigned as interim manager of Real Madrid. The Galacticos need a manager. The Los Blancos need a head coach. The Los Merengues need a successful technical head to do this job. So Florentino Perez, it's not time for any chopping and changing again. When Xabi Alonso was sacked, Real Madrid needed a much more experienced coach to take over the reins. Alvaro Arbeloa was given the opportunity, and it's turned from bad to worse. So Real Madrid need a better coach going into next season. Razak,
Freddie, before we continue, let me chip in this. You see, I was surprised when Xabi Alonso was sacked and then Arbeloa was named as the new coach for the Real Madrid team. Because how can you tell me that a club like Real Madrid, the biggest club on earth, has an experienced coach sacked, and then you are bringing in Arbeloa as an interim? Meanwhile, we are halfway to the season. It's not like we have 3 games more to finish the season. No. We are halfway through, meaning we have over 20 games more to play in all competitions, and decided to bring in inexperienced Arbeloa. Come on.
Razak, the main reason why Arbeloa was given the nod or was given the opportunity is that, you see now, most experienced coaches would want to take over a club they have gone through preseason with. Okay, that's, the mantra of most successful coaches. If they haven't overseen preseason with the club, they wouldn't want to, take over halfway through the season. And we all know what led to the sacking of Xabi Alonso. There was power struggle in the team. He had disagreements with, integral members in the squad. So, for a successful manager to come through when he hasn't overseen preseason with Real Madrid, not many coaches would have taken that decision. That was why Alvaro Arbeloa was asked to at least take Madrid to the end of the season. But he has been one of the worst coaches. It's not going as Madrid would have expected. So Florentino Perez should act, and he needs to act now, because Real Madrid might not even finish second. Real Madrid might finish third and possibly even fourth. Yeah, Madrid is not doing well, and as I've said, it cannot get worse than Madrid is doing now. So the quicker or the earlier Florentino Perez acts, the better for the White Angels or the Los Blancos, the Galacticos of Madrid.
Yeah, so away from the Arbeloa issue note, I think we have to delve straight into the weekend games. Because this weekend, the semi-finals of the English FA Cup is on live. And we have Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, who are on the verge of doing the domestic treble. They are coming up against a certain Marys.
See, for Southampton, I think this season, for Southampton beating Arsenal or kicking Arsenal out of the FA Cup, something good for the Saints. Yeah, I would give them, congratulations, even if they get dumped out of the competition by Manchester City. They've done very well, beating Arsenal or eliminating Arsenal from the FA Cup quarter-final and getting into the semi-final stage, coming up against the Sky Blues of Manchester. That in itself is a yeoman's job done by the Saints. One game I'm looking forward to, Chelsea coming up against Leeds United at Wembley. Chelsea have seen, since the Blue Coal and, Todd Bowley era, Chelsea have overseen a number of coaches come through. Thomas Tuchel 106 days. Graham Potter, 206 days. Then was Bruno Sauter. When Graham Potter was shown the exit door, there was a certain Bruno Sauter who came over or took over as caretaker for only 4 days. Then Frank Lampard was given the job, and for 85 days, he was also, sacked for Mauricio Pochettino to take over the reins. The former Tottenham manager, who is currently the head coach of the U.S. men's national team, Mauricio Pochettino, he oversaw Chelsea for 325 days, and he resigned for Enzo Maresca. So all these coaches I'm mentioning, Enzo Maresca has been the most successful amongst these coaches. Enzo Maresca, 549 days. He won the Club World Cup. He won the Conference League. And, he did wonders with Chelsea because he took over a Chelsea side. As I've said, there were times that Chelsea fans were very disgruntled. Even after the sacking of Frank Lampard and Mauricio Pochettino took over the reins of the club, still Chelsea were still finding it difficult to, find their feet. So for Enzo Maresca, as I've said, the past, 5 head coach appointments, he has been, the most successful among these coaches. And
Freddie, I'm not catching, but let's look at this in this point of view. What is Manchester City? What is Arsenal? What is Liverpool doing right that managers get the opportunity to keep or stay long at these clubs? And it's clubs like Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, if the longest season you spend in this club are just 2 seasons.
So for Chelsea, I think Chelsea are accustomed to winning. Chelsea is a winning club.
Oh, okay.
We know that Roman Abramovich's reign, it was difficult for a coach to go through a whole year without winning something. So for Chelsea fans, take it or leave it. If you come as manager and you don't win anything, they wouldn't be happy with you. So Chelsea, they have been, used to winning. And the reason why coaches come and go is just because Chelsea Football Club, they don't settle for mediocrity. Chelsea does not compromise. If you come and you do not hit the ground running, like Liam Rosenwa, having 5 games, on a defeat spree, that's, something that Chelsea will not forgive you. That's uncalled for. And Chelsea is unforgiving at a big club like Chelsea. I say a big club like Chelsea because Chelsea have won the UEFA Champions League twice. So if you come in as Chelsea manager and you are not, finding your way, you are not grinding out results, you'll be shown the exit door, okay? A number of coaches have been earmarked to come through the door, the likes of, Francesc Fabregas, the likes of Luis Enrique. For me, I think Chelsea cannot, and Chelsea will not, they cannot afford to take, a coach who hasn't won anything. As I've said, you go through the coaches that have come through of late, and Graham Potter, yes, he was doing well at Brighton and Hove Albion. He wasn't a winner. Bruno Sauter took over for 4 days. He wasn't a winner as well. Frank Lampard, he had won nothing, and he was brought back. Yeah. Then there was Mauricio Pochettino, who only won, the French league with Paris Saint-Germain. Of course, any coach that goes to Paris Saint-Germain at least wins something. Yeah. So Mauricio Pochettino, you cannot call Mauricio Pochettino a winner. Yeah. He took Tottenham Hotspur to the final of the UEFA Champions League and he couldn't win. So he wasn't a winner as well. Enzo Maresca, as I said, is the only coach who won something tangible. The FIFA club, the Club World Cup, that 3-0 victory over Paris Saint-Germain. So if you come to Chelsea and you are not, hitting the ground running, Chelsea fans will not forgive you. That's why this time I would expect the Blue Co and, Todoboli to collaborate and find a very experienced gaffer for the Blues. Anything, other than experienced, a winner as a coach for Chelsea would spell doom for the London club.
Are we seeing Manchester City Chelsea at the Wembley for the FA Cup finals?
Certainly. I see Manchester City beating Southampton and Chelsea also beating Leeds United. You know, sometimes we call it the new manager bounce. For Callum McFarlane, he's not a new manager because at least the players, you know, he also had 4 days, even as Bruno Salta. Yes, when, you know, he came into the mix, at least after Enzo Maresca was shown the exit door, he had that, you know, 1-1 draw against Manchester City. And for me, even I was surprised that Liam Rossenoir, if you are getting a head coach for Chelsea, you do not get somebody who was inexperienced like Liam Rossenoir. Yeah, for Callum McFarlane, as I said, he played out a 1-1 draw against the citizens, Manchester City. We all know that Enzo Fernandez, you know, got that equalizer. Liam Rossenoir came and, you know, everything went, you know, everything just scattered at Chelsea. Arsenal beating Chelsea back to back. Chelsea finding it even difficult to keep clean sheets. Chelsea losing 5 consecutive games on a row. So all these, you know, with Callum McFarlane coming, you know, on the scene again to take over as interim manager till the end of the season, there will be that, you know, refreshing new manager bounce that would, we all know that the players were not playing for Liam Rossenoir. They didn't believe in the tactics of the coach. They didn't believe in the, you know, coach's way of playing. And that's why, for me, I believe that the players intentionally got the coach sacked because they didn't see the future of Liam Rossenoir at Chelsea Football Club. So for Callum McFarlane coming to, you know, take Chelsea to the end of the season, Chelsea would want to at least give themselves the opportunity to lift a silverware this season. An opportunity to play Manchester City in the grand finale of the FA Cup, you know, would be something Chelsea would relish. So beating Leeds United at Wembley is something Chelsea will do everything so they can meet the Sky Blues of Manchester at Wembley come the month of May.
All right, Freddie. So away from the FA Cup, let's still remain in the English League. As the run of 32 games in the English Premier League, we've seen some which was played on Wednesday and then Thursday. And even today, we witnessed the game between
Razak, so
Southampton and Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest beating Sunderland for 5-0 at the Stadium of Light. I didn't see that coming.
Yes, it's because, you see, whenever the season is coming to an end, the teams that are struggling or battling for relegation, most of them, like, they want to fight so they can remain in the English Premier League. That is why Nottingham Forest were able to beat Sunderland at their own backyard. And mind you, Nottingham Forest is still in the...
They are still in the relegation mix and
they are still in the European competition.
Yeah.
Playing in the Conference League.
True.
So, I mean, the win against Sunderland today
will be a major boost.
Their confidence.
Yes, it will be a major
going
boost.
Into the Conference League game, which is the semi-finals. And so, Sunderland were at home and then was beaten by Nottingham Forest by 5-0.
5-star performance from the Garibaldi Reds, Nottingham Forest. You know, as I said, I didn't see that coming. But for Nottingham Forest, you know, 39 points now and seated 16th on the English Premier League log. West Ham on 17th. Nottingham Forest have given themselves a major boost to escape relegation because going into, you know, the round 32 games, West Ham now battling for survival. For me, I think the Lily Whites of Tottenham will be difficult for them to escape relegation. Very, very difficult for Tottenham Hotspur to escape relegation. West Ham United wouldn't want to go down. They would want to beat the drop. So for Garibaldi Reds, the Nottingham Forest team, who have their destiny in their own hands, yes, beating Sunderland 5-0 at the Stadium of Light. Very, very impressive results for the Reds there at the Stadium of Light.
Well, the Andoni Areola side have managed to continue their winning streak, and then it is 14 games unbeaten. They managed to draw against Leeds United. They played 2-2. Man City also managed to get a 1-0 result away from home at the Turf Moor against Burnley. Brighton were at home and managed to beat Liam Rosinoir's side. The game that sent Rosinoir to his home.
I born too much. Liam Rosinoir, you know, sometimes you need to call a spade a spade. You know, you need to call a spade a spade. As I said, like, you know,
Stadmog.
The French league, you can't compare that to the English Premier League. That's why I blame the Blue Co and Todd Bowley for, you know, making that decision. How can you bring, you know, an inexperienced coach to come take over the reins at Chelsea? You don't expect someone who has been, you know, the head coach of Strasbourg, you know, in the French league to come take over Chelsea. Chelsea is a much bigger brand compared to Strasbourg in the French league. So, you know, it was a right step in the right direction.
Let me mention the games that will be played this weekend in the English Premier League. Then you take the ones you want to do your analysis on. So Fulham will be coming on. They will be playing against Aston Villa. Liverpool will be playing against Crystal Palace. My own West Ham United will be at the London Stadium and then inviting the Toffees from Merseyside, which is the Everton club. And then Wolverhampton Wanderers, the relegated side, they'll be playing against the struggling Mohamed Kudus side, Tottenham Hotspur. And then Arsenal, this is the decider.
Let me touch on the Wolves-Tottenham Hotspur game. For Wolves, they have been confirmed, you know, they are off to championship. They will not be playing English Premier League football next season. They were the first team to be relegated in the English Premier League this season. Coming up against the Little Whites, Tottenham Hotspur at the Molineux. You know, it will be very difficult for Tottenham because, you know, in the English Premier League, Wolverhampton Wanderers, as I've said, they've confirmed their relegation status. But then again, they would want to finish very, very strongly. They wouldn't make life easy for Tottenham Hotspur. You know, Tottenham Hotspur themselves would want to beat the drop, so they would come very hard at the Molineux. But expect Wolverhampton Wanderers to give Tottenham a run for their money. For Arsenal against the Magpies or the Toon Army, Newcastle United at the Emirates. Arsenal, yeah, at a point leading the English Premier League 13 points. Now, Manchester City lead the league, you know, on head-to-head basis. And for Arsenal, they have themselves to blame. Coming up against Newcastle at the Emirates, a number of injuries for Arsenal, but at least they have a team to beat Newcastle. The Magpies themselves, they have been very, very shambolic this season. You know, very, 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 you know, disappointing performances from Newcastle United in the 2025-2026 league season. Last season, they had a certain Alexander Isak who was doing the magic for them. But this season, it's been difficult for them because Wotamadi has found life difficult in his first season in England. The Democratic Republic of Congo, you know, forward also. I don't want to mention his name because for him, the least said about him, the better. Newcastle United, Eddie Howe, head coach, will need to come better. I don't think they would sack him. I believe they will give him the benefit of the doubt because at least, you know, it wasn't easy losing a star striker in Alexander Isak. It wasn't easy at all.
And mind you, they also lost Callum Wilson.
You know, they also lost Callum Wilson. So it's not been easy for the Black and Whites. It's not been easy for the Magpies, Newcastle United. At least they wouldn't, you know, be relegated so they can put their, you know, Arsenal together. And when I say Arsenal means weapon. So, you know, that's even, you know, something to tell the Arsenal team that they should be doing well themselves to beat Newcastle United.
Are we seeing another surprise at the Emirates?
I will not be surprised myself if Newcastle United hold Arsenal. But for Arsenal going, you know, on back-to-back, you know, winless, in fact, defeat, because AFC Bournemouth defeated Arsenal and Manchester City also compounded, you know, their misery at the Etihad. So Arsenal this week against Newcastle United, very, very, very tough game. Anytime these two sides meet, it becomes a very, very tough game for both sides.
Let me create this scenario. Do you think, or do you side with me, that the game Arsenal were leading and then Wolverhampton Wanderers came to equalize the goals was the game that gave Manchester City the confidence to come back into the league.
Yeah. Because, when you are playing at the Emirates, you are playing at your own backyard. You pull first blood for Arsenal scoring the first goal against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Yes, they weren't then confirmed, relegation, bound, but they were battling relegation then. For such a team to come from a goal down to beat Arsenal by 2-1 at the Emirates, that all but confirmed Arsenal's on the seriousness, to lift the EPL title this season. That sent a signal to Manchester City that, Arsenal, their title contending credentials, very, very big question on their heads. And that even gave Manchester City the impetus to believe that they can, at least chase Arsenal and they can make Arsenal know that the English Premier League is not yet, decided. So that game, Arsenal, losing against Wolverhampton Wanderers at the Emirates Sports Stadium gave Manchester City the much needed, ego to come at Arsenal and challenge Arsenal for this season's English Premier League.
Freddie, let's end the show. Well, do you think if Brentford gets all the 3 maximum points against Manchester United, that is the confirmation of Chelsea not participating in any European competition next season?
So the Beast of Brentford, 48 points, Chelsea 49. Manchester United fans are saying they would allow Brentford to beat them. So I'm going to say, bro.
Hey, now United, and then I saw my hope and say, hey.
They've seen that at least they will be playing UEFA Champions League football next season.
I saw some video online, and the video is like, almost say, now United, the last time you played the Champions League, I think it was the group stages format. And now you are coming to the Champions League next season, and then it is now the league phase.
The league phase is no joke at all. That's why Manchester United shouldn't take this game lightly. They need to create some winning mentality even before the season ends. And, with that even rumor surrounding Michael Carrick, many people thinking he's not the right man for the job. So he needs to give himself the opportunity for the hierarchy of Manchester United to believe him beyond reasonable doubt so he can be appointed next, substantive head coach for the Red Devils.